All right, we are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Tuesday with Mike and Mike. Today, we are talking all things locks for your short-term rentals. This is one of those questions that we get asked all the time. What lock should I put inside of my property? And so, Mike, I'm going to let you talk for a second because I'm pretty sure I have a couple extras in my closet over here. I'm going to pull them out just so people have some context here.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, let's start with why. Like, why do you need a lock on your short-term rental? Obviously, for obvious reasons, you got to have it secure. But what do you use? Do you use a lockbox? A lot of people still use physical lockboxes. Wi-Fi locks, there's 1,000 out there. Schlage has some, Yale has some. Everybody's coming out with a Wi-Fi lock. What if you have bad Wi-Fi? What do you do in that case? A lot of people have properties in the mountains. Also, we're just going to go over a few use cases on specific locks and door handles, things to look out for, and then just answer any questions that you guys have. I have Wi-Fi locks in all 8 of our units, and we use Yale Assure locks and also use the August technology. Connects to Wi-Fi. I can open it up from anywhere. I've got one app that has all of my properties just here on the phone, and I can see who's coming in, who's coming out. I can see when the door is open, when the door is closed. But let's start off with why you need an electronic lock. So I've stayed in plenty of Airbnbs that have the traditional lockbox, but it's pretty easy to go make a copy of that key, or to just take the key and lock the place up yourself. And then all of a sudden you got a guest checking in the next day, or you got your cleaners that are coming back to clean the place and they don't have a spare key. You don't want that to happen. So our best practice is 1, have a Wi-Fi lock, 2, have a lockbox as a backup. So let's say your lock's dead, and there's Mike with all his, your lock's dead, the batteries are out, or your Wi-Fi is not working or something. You want to have an actual physical key that you can open up your place with, or your cleaners can open up your place with. So that's kind of the redundancy and the best practice that we have for that. The second part, and I'll do a little screen sharing later on, is you want to have the deadbolt only on the front door. You do not want to have the deadbolt and a handle that you can lock, because guests will lock them accidentally and lock themselves out. So I'll screen share that a little bit later on. But Mike, you got any feedback, or you got some locks to show us?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm glad I went back there because I forgot how many of these I have. So there's a couple different options, right? So we talked about, I think I heard you talking about why we want to use Wi-Fi locks, right? Changing the codes automatically every time, setting up your cleaners with codes. It just allows you to have more control over who's going in and out of your property. And so a few different options. One of the common ones that I've seen, and I hope I got the right one. Nope, I didn't. But one of the common ones that I see are just getting like the regular, like the Schlage that just has the keypads, but it doesn't change automatically. It's not a Wi-Fi lock, right? So you have to automatically you have to go in manually and change the code every single time after every guest. Nobody wants to deal with that. And most hosts that say they do it, when I actually ask them, like, are you changing it after every guest? They all admit no, like it's too much of a hassle, right? So you want to use Wi-Fi enabled locks. So what I started with initially was this lock by a company called August. And so it looks like this. Looks like a big hockey puck. And this thing basically just goes on the inside of the deadbolt, and it just controls the deadbolt. And then this thing plugs into the wall and it connects it to the internet. Okay, it's by a company called August. And then you can buy a separate keypad to use with this lock. So August, when you get a booking, it will integrate with Airbnb directly. And it'll email the guest that they can download the August app and unlock the door with their phone. Okay. It sounds cool, but a lot of guests are not that tech savvy, or maybe they don't have internet on the way up, or whatever happens. So if you're going to go that route, definitely get the keypad so that they can actually get a physical keypad code to type in as well to get into the property. Now, I used that lock for a while and it was fine. But what I found is the batteries on this thing don't last very long. And so you're constantly switching out batteries, and the lock itself tended to go on and offline quite a bit. So then we switched it up and went with this Yale Assure lock that also integrates with August. So same thing, it comes with that little August Connect bridge, which connects it to the internet. They can still use the August app. You can set up your cleaners with a code. It integrates directly with Airbnb and some of those platforms so that guests can get in that way. And then more recently, I still use the same lock, but it's a Z-Wave. So now I have a Z-Wave lock, which is just kind of another type of connectivity. You've got Bluetooth, you've got Wi-Fi, you've got Z-Wave, all these different types of connectivity. And so I pair this lock with a Samsung SmartThings hub, and then I use a third-party software that automatically creates the codes and uses the last 4 digits of the guest phone number and all that stuff. So that's the keypad code. Now, if you're in a situation like we've got a property, for example, in Florida that has hurricane doors. So like to lock the door, you turn the knob up to engage the top and bottom of the door to lock it in the event of a hurricane. These locks are not going to work on that type of door. So what we did is we did some research to figure out, all right, if we had to give out physical keys, were there any lock boxes that would integrate so it would reset the code every time for every guest? And what we found is this company called Igloo, and they have these smart key boxes. Okay. So again, it integrates with Airbnb and those platforms. And when you get a guest that books, it's going to create a code that only works for them during check-in to checkout time. They enter it on this thing, it opens up, and they get a physical key, and then they got to put it back. All right. Now, this one can be a little finicky. It's not as user-friendly as some of the other locks. So like, as an example, if I have a guest that gets to the property early and it's ready, right? On the other locks, on the Yale ones and the August ones, I can just go in and update their access and just give them an hour earlier. Just change the hours on their access. With this one, I have to generate a new code and send the guest the new code, because it's basically like one-way communication. Once it goes to the lock, it's not going to communicate back. So I have to send a brand new code to the lock and to the guest. But it works, right? And this is the back of it. This is kind of what it looks like. The whole thing folds down, and then you can put a couple of keys or key cards or whatever you need to do to get in there. So those are the options that I recommend. But as Mike said, with any of these smart locks, you as a business owner always need to have a contingency plan, right? So technology screws up sometimes, things happen. So if you lose connection to the internet, or you run out of batteries for whatever reason, if you're not paying attention to that stuff, you always want to have a lockbox with a physical key in that property so that you can open it and give them, or so that you can give guests code to that lockbox so that they can have a physical key to get in. Because you don't want to have to drive to the property or send somebody to the property to let them in. So even on our hotels, we use these locks, you know, the Yale locks that I was talking about. And then we have old school physical key boxes kind of hidden around the property, so that if for whatever reason, if the code doesn't work, we can just give the guest the code to that lockbox, which actually happened at one of the hotels yesterday. For whatever reason, the lock kind of crapped out for a little bit. So we just gave them the lockbox code. They got a physical key and they were able to get in, no problem. So you always want to have a backup plan, a contingency plan, and think through, if this thing fails, or if this piece of technology fails, what is my plan B to continue operations and make sure that I'm still creating a great guest experience? Yeah. So I see we got some here.
I think we do have one question if you want to grab that.
Is the Yale lock just a different August model? So Mason, good question. So Yale makes a few different, it's the same lock, but what you'll notice when you go to install it in the back, I'll open this up for you real quick while I'm doing this. Mike, you can keep talking. I'm going to put myself on mute because this might get loud when I open it.
Okay. Yeah, so it's it's the same. So the technology or the hardware can be multiple different companies. It can be Yale, it can be Schlage, but August has a connection, a little hub that you plug into the wall that connects to that smart lock, that connects you to the Wi-Fi, that connects you to the app. So you just got to figure out which locks integrate with August or which locks integrate with Z-Wave in order to have that Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection. So, and he's not showing it right now, but this is an example of a lock, a circular deadbolt lock that you can put the hockey puck that he showed earlier, the August hockey puck, which is actually August hardware on top of this circular doorknob or circular deadbolt, and operates it. It'll actually turn the deadbolt on and off when you open and close it. So another thing to keep in mind is this doorknob down here has a lock on it. So it's got double. So you can open up the deadbolt, but if this doorknob is locked as well, you still can't get in. So you got to make sure that it has a blank for the doorknob and you're only using the deadbolt to allow access to the property. That's one thing that I've overlooked before. We haven't been in any issues with that, but I've had to change them out. And it's very simple to change out. Like putting a new deadbolt on, putting a new doorknob on, it doesn't take a lot of effort. There's different doors that make things a little bit more difficult. You got the like graphite doors, you got the real solid wood doors. So making it, difficult, or it can be difficult depending on the door. Also, you got to make sure that the door jamb is locked or is lined up very well to actually hit the strike plate. So it locks easily, because the technology that we're using, it has a motor in it, and it's not as strong as like actually us using our hand to lock the deadbolt. So you may have to have a handyman. You may have to take the door frame and move that strike plate around. I put 3 locks in over the last 10 days, and I've had to do that on all 3 doors. So it does take a little bit of handiwork to make sure it lines up properly so that it doesn't get jammed and it works effectively. So
Are you sharing your screen, Mike? Because I'm not seeing anything.
you're not? I am. I think I am.
It says
I wonder if I can see it.
started screen sharing, but I'm not seeing anything on there.
Huh. I guess it doesn't work then.
So what I was saying was, on the back side of the lock, right? You unscrew this. I was trying to find a screwdriver to show you guys, but you unscrew this and then you put the 4 batteries in, and then up top there's a slot for a card that goes in, and it's either going to be an August card, a Z-Wave card, or Zigbee or whatever. Now the new Yale locks, they call it Yale Connect, and it's the same as August. So it works with the August app. It's just called Yale Connect now. So you would just plug that little, I think for Yale and August, it's a red chip or a white and red chip that just goes in here. For the Z-Wave, it's a green chip that goes in here. And that's the only thing, that's the only difference. So you just want to make sure that when you buy the lock, you're either getting the Yale Connect / August version or the Yale Z-Wave version. Make sure that you get the right chip that goes in it. And if you get the wrong one, you can always go online and buy the chip, but it's going to cost you more. So I would just try and get the right version so you don't have to do that.
Get a couple more questions.
Yeah. So what was the name of the app Mike mentioned that customized the guest code to the last 4 digits? Yes. So that, and I think Jason has the same question. I use links. Now with links, the only way to use them is if you have at least 10 properties. Now I've worked out a deal for like the mastermind students that if they want to use them, they can, just because I give links so much business that they'll let any of the mastermind students in and use it. But typically you're going to need at least 10 units to work with links, which is why I recommend using the Yale Connect or August initially until you have a bunch of units. So Jason, I think that answered your question too, buddy. I've never tested Operto or Remote Lock. I've just used links. I've had good luck with it. I've got a good relationship with the CEO, so it's worked out for me. So what other questions you guys have as I go through my show and tell here and try and put all this stuff back in the box the way it's supposed to?
So Mike, you have check-in codes and you have check-out codes too, right?
Yes. So the other cool thing with links is you can create codes for checkout. So when a guest is checking out of the property, they input their checkout code and then it automatically notifies my team. It automatically erases their code, the guest code, and it automatically notifies my cleaners that, hey, the guest checked out early. So that is a cool feature of links. I don't think August has that.
No, it does not. It doesn't have the checkout code. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it's a cool feature for sure. It's not the end all be all. Like you can still, I mean, I don't usually accommodate like late checkouts anyway, but it is nice for my cleaners when they know that the guest checked out a little early, that they can go to the property and do whatever they need to do. So it is a plus. I'm not going to lie, having that. What else we got? I know Mason and Jason were asking questions. What other questions you guys have?
I don't see any other in here. I know there's 7 people watching, so if anybody else has questions,
Time.
now is the time. I think next week we'll talk more about security. Locks is a big piece, but also cameras as well. Making sure that only people that are verified and on the booking can enter your property or should enter your property. We're going to talk about cameras and how to handle those situations when unauthorized people are entering your property, or if they're entering early, or if they're checking out late. We need to be able to have control over that and notify the guests in a hospitable way, not in like a very angry way, but we need to know the operations of the business, and using cameras is one way to keep things secure. So
100%, and it gives you peace of mind. Like you always know what's going on in your property. So
yeah.
What do you do for locks on back doors? Just use a regular deadbolt, and just make sure your cleaners lock it when they leave. You don't need to have 50 different smart locks. The guests can get in one way, and if you're not going to need them for every single door. Jason said, do you give owners a code to have at all times or only when they stay? I mean, if they need a master code, that's fine, but my owners are going to ask me before they go to a property anyway. So like the PMS we use, they'll make an owner block or an owner reservation. And if they have to get in, they know to notify me to make sure that there's nobody in there if they need to get in for whatever reason. So.
Yeah, I've had that happen once. We had a guest staying in there, and the owner went in without notifying us, and he found out somebody was in there pretty fast. So I took those privileges away pretty quickly. Actually, I do notify him via text message now for every single booking, so he knows, and it's on his calendar. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I'm sure they appreciate that.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit easier since they are local.
I think I shot myself in the foot. I don't think there's any chance I'm getting this back in the box the way it's supposed to be, but hopefully you guys like my show and tell here. So you rely on your security system to see your guests and not a Ring doorbell? No, that's what I mean. Like part of your security should be some type of camera.
Yep.
And then some type of noise monitoring. And I like using the like a smart smoke CO2 detector. Like again, for like, especially for properties that aren't local, but even for the local ones, it's like you want to know what's going on. And I know it can be expensive. Like I didn't do that for the hotel. I didn't put in like the Nest smokes for every room because it would have been like $5,000 or something crazy. But typically for the STRs, I like to put those in just because, I want to know if there's smoke or you know, God forbid, a fire at the property. Like I want to know. So one, I can make sure the guests get out okay. And then two, so I can get the fire department there like ASAP and somebody from the team just to see what's going on. So, all right, cool. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap it up? We got to jump over to our private mastermind call in just a second here. What else we got? We got a few more people hanging out.
I think David asked one question. Just installed August 4th generation 3 units. Is Yale equivalent or better?
I think it's
same technology.
Yeah.
Same Wi-Fi technology because they both use August.
Yep.
Unless you use the Z-Wave for Yale. Would you say the Yale lock with the Z-Wave technology is better?
It is, but only if you have enough units to use something like Lynx. I don't know if Operto or any of those have like limits on how many units you can have, or like requirements for how many units you can have. So if not, I think the August or the Yale Connect is fine. But if you have a bunch of units, from what I've understood talking with Lynx and some of the other companies, the Z-Wave is just a better connection. It's just it's just better from what I hear. So yeah, it's more reliable.
Last thing to add, August now can send the codes directly through the Airbnb app.
That's nice.
Change. Yeah, that's a change of the last 3 weeks, I think, that they made. So
that's really good.
It's kind of a long email. So when somebody books my place or any place that we operate, we send a welcome email. This is the details. This is the instructions. Thank you for booking. And it's a very hospitable message that's automated. Now they're getting the August message on top of that, which is like 3 paragraphs. So it's not the sexiest message that they're getting, but at least we don't have to tell them to check their email before they're booking and they lose the code or they forget their email or whatnot. So, but I think somebody in the mastermind has tried out Operto. I don't know who it is, if it was Bernie or somebody, but
might have been Ken.
Ken, yeah.
Ken likes to try new stuff. All right, cool.
Cool.
Any other questions, guys? We got to wrap it up. We'll give it 30 more seconds. I almost solved this puzzle to get this back in.
I just had to return one this past week. The Bluetooth connection wasn't working on the 4th generation August that I bought, so I had to return it and get a new one.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy opening those boxes too, much less putting it back in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to like fit all the pieces together here. Come on. Whoop. Might have done it. Nope. Nope. All right, guys. I'm not seeing any other questions, so thank you for hanging out. Appreciate it. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this. Again, every Monday, we've got Mindset Monday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Every Tuesday at 4:30 Eastern. We do Tuesdays with Mike and Mike, talking all things short-term rentals. So if you guys have questions, post them in the group, tag Mike and myself, what content you're looking for. We're here to add as much value to you as possible in these short little 20 to 30-minute segments. Thank you as a part of being this group. Make sure you check out the podcast. And we do have some special announcements on some new programs that we have coming out. So stay tuned for that. And we will see you guys next week. Have a great week, everybody. Talk soon.